What is the saying? The higher the hair, the closer to God. So we're getting real close to God today. I just got off of a conversation, a really inspiring conversation with a client of mine. And I want to share what we were talking about because I've spoken about the 0 point, the ascending spiral, the descending spiral. You've maybe even heard me talk about the trauma vortex and the counter vortex. But I want to recapitulate the things that I've shared on here about that. And I want to add the dimension of black holes and how black holes, the phenomenology of them within our, galaxy, as above, so below, they have a very similar quality to the descending spiral and the trauma vortex. So I want to lay these things out and give it a language so that more people can hopefully with their bodies really feel and understand and eventually integrate what it is that I'm sharing here. Because if you can do that, then you've got it. You're on the right path. Okay, so black holes, this is what my client was sharing with me, was this piece, and I was like, oh, this just like lights me up. Ironically, black holes light me up. So what do? There is almost like a magnetic force pulling energy into and consolidating it into, it's a contraction into an actually infinite point. Because what she was describing to me is that you would think that there would eventually be a point where that black hole ends, but it doesn't. It can literally infinitely consume and basically fold in on itself. So this phenomenon of a black hole is so similar to what we are dealing with when we talk about healing fragmentation, when we talk about healing trauma, because the trauma vortex is just like a black hole. It has a magnetic and gravitational pull all its own, and it will literally suck a person into a smaller and smaller and more constricted and more compacted reality with more and more limited options. So less free will, less choice, less of a window of tolerance. And it has a pull to it. So we notice within healing, and we notice when we start to cultivate this observer within our being, that there is a propensity towards the negative, right? And on the one hand, that's so that we can deal with the unresolved pain, because our being continues to point us back to it. But there's also, there can be a looping quality, right? When we only have access to pretty much living in the black hole, in the trauma vortex, or in the descending spiral, right? Which is this stage and this process of literally degrading and fragmenting further. That's what that descending spiral is. And so the observer is like the 0 point. It's the point between any and all polarity in any given moment. And that's also, how do we do that? We do that through the heart, through quieting the mind, and through cultivating heart awareness and embodiment and presence within ourselves, which is only possible through working upon the things that prevent us from being in this present moment. But then we have this counter vortex, what we're going to call the blossoming flower, this counter vortex and this ascending spiral. And what's interesting is that our ascension is through, and Michael was talking about this in the podcast, is through the descension of the feminine, the descension of the spirit into the body and embodied. It's our blossoming and opening up of all of our multidimensionality. It's our accretion of light. And at a very practical level, like when we're talking about the nervous system, it's our resources, our stability, our grounding, our safety, that is the counter vortex. It's the coherence. It's what's going well. It's what's harmonizing. It's what's moving in a life-giving direction, in a truthful and harmonious direction. Like we're containing more truth, right? Lies and programming and conditioning are also part of the trauma vortex, that black hole, and what we are literally pulling our quanta and our energy out of through the portal of the 0 point, through the portal of that cultivation of the observer that I was talking about, and into stabilizing more and more of our energy into the body in this now moment, into nervous system regulation, safety, like all those things I was just describing. The things that we love about ourselves. Resources can be what brings us peace, what brings us a sense of love, of being here and now. This is where we're headed. And so when we get any little part of us rooted in this, we start to have the capacity to actually be with and hold and observe more within this black hole chaos, and to slowly, through that stillness, through that process of unconditional presence, bring more and more of that energy into that arc of life, into that arc of regeneration. And that's our process. That's our process of alchemy, of spiritual evolution, of healing. And I just loved that addition of the black hole, just to kind of give like multiple different layers of these two things that we're working with, right? We're working with the new and the old, and the 0 point is the bridge between those two things, the gateway for transformation. I know that there was one other thing. Okay, I remember what it is. So in the podcast episode, if you watch that, Michael and Gigi Young has spoken about this. This is in Steiner's work, Anthroposophy, right? Where we are right now is in this phase where the feminine, the goddess, is descending. This is the re-spiritualization of matter. And the feminine has a void-like, dark quality. That's, if you look at, esoteric teachings, the feminine is connected to, right, lunar, and the father, the masculine, is the solar impulse. So when we start to master this feminine impulse, what it looks like in its highest form is the exaltation of chaos into unlimitedness, into the highest embodiment of free will, choice, and shifting timelines, and shifting. Because the feminine is descending into the body. So that intelligence, that awareness that we're building, which is a different kind of intelligence. The feminine intelligence is different from the masculine intelligence within ourselves. As that comes in, we're more able to begin to actually pulse and tap into the unlimitedness. That is the exaltation of chaos. And shift. And then our masculine component of the being can actually carry that new frequency forward through structure and organization. So that's something that's important to add, like that trauma vortex, that black hole, that there is an element of fragmentation, but there's also an element of chaos. And so what we bring with us as we exit that descending spiral, that trauma vortex, and we get more of ourselves into the present moment and into this blossoming and blooming field of life force energy, what we have to remember, what we're bringing with us is the full spectrum. We're bringing with us the embodiment of surrender to the all that is in any given moment, while simultaneously being able to act and have choice that is coming from a place of unlimitedness within ourselves. You know, no big deal. I hope all of that, you know, I hope that does something for you. I hope that activates something for you. Okay. Okay. Oh my God. You guys, sitting on my calves like that. Okay. Be well. Be well.